really run the race that they were looking for out of him because they wanted him to come from off the pace. Instead, he gets caught in a speed duel early, then he's taken back, then he comes on again at the finish and ran better than the chart would indicate. But when he got to Chicago, he ran the perfect race for him, and he was indeed impressive. And I would venture to say that he beat a stronger field this year than War Emblem did last year, Randy.
Yeah, I thought there was a huge effort in the Illinois Derby. I mean, he got into trouble. You know the horse is going to be able to handle a mile and a quarter. He's got the pedigree for it and the running style. He's training well at Churchill Downs, as we see a workout from earlier in the week. You can see he has no problems handling the racetrack up there. This horse, just of all the horses stacked up against Empire Maker, I think he's probably got the best chance of any of them. And what makes the Illinois Derby look even better, the horse that finished 5th in that race, beaten 13 lengths, was a horse called Cherokee's Boy, who came back in his next start to win the Tessio. And
by the way, he is the ESPN house horse. Some of the ESPN executives have a piece of this horse, so. But that's not why we're speaking highly of him, honest.
Well, Hall of Famer Pat Day certainly knows his way around Churchill Downs. He has won virtually every race there, including the Kentucky Derby back in 1992. Day talked recently about how much 10 Most Wanted had grown up since being in Northern California to his victory in the Illinois Derby.
Well, I don't know that I can't recall being on one that I felt maybe improved and matured that dramatically. And I know it happens. I've seen it happen with other horses, but I don't recall any that they've made the gradual improvement. But it was a radical improvement between the race in Northern California and the race in Illinois. It was profound how radically and dramatically he had changed and really stepped up to the plate, the professionalism that he showed that day, and it was almost as if the light came on.
And a running style that would appear to fit a mile and a quarter test.
Well, I certainly don't believe that a mile and a quarter is going to be any problem for him. And as I said, he's a big, robust individual. The Derby historically is a bit of a rough run race. There's always some jostling, pushing, and shoving, and I think he's big enough to handle some of that. I believe that he showed us in the Illinois Derby that he's tractable. He's responsive. I discovered that about him that day, and will ride him with even more confidence than I did, obviously, in the Illinois Derby, knowing that he's got that turn of foot and that he will respond when I call upon him. And I think he also showed us that he can start and get stopped and still come on in the Illinois Derby. So everything that he showed was positive, and I think it'll really play in his favor on Derby Day.
Pat Day went through Arkansas once before riding Lil E.T. Will this horse come through Arkansas and go on to make a run at the Roses? It was 55-1 that he would even get there. At 55-1, Sir Cherokee winning the Arkansas Derby. You have to go back to the mid-1950s. Since then, only one other time as a horse won his final Derby prep race at higher odds than that, and that was Rockamundo, who also won the Arkansas Derby at 108-1, I believe, Randy.
And he did do very well in Kentucky. This horse had a nice race in the Arkansas Derby, finished his last furlong in less than 12 seconds, although the stretch at Oaklawn is slightly downhill. He's yet to miss a paycheck in his 10 lifetime starts, but he's going to be 30 or 40-1 at the Derby.
Does that mean we play him in a superfecta at least, Hank?
I don't think so, although he has shown that he likes the stretch at Churchill Downs. He broke his maiden there and had a closing finishing race in his other race at Churchill, but at 55-1, coming off the race of his life, I say he bounces to the moon.
That was really the strangest of our preps this year. Coming along for our strange ride toward the Kentucky Derby this year, Kenny Mayne, who recently reflected on his journey with our own Randy Moss. They did it on videotape, and it looked like this.
I remember, Kenny, a few years ago at Pimlico when you were visiting for the Preakness in the middle of your sports center tenure. You commented to me about
Have I been fired from that?
about how someday You wanted to host the racing shows. You thought that would be an absolute blast. And now, lo and behold, here we are at the end of your first Derby prep season. What you think?
And I always wanted to call a race too, and unfortunately I got both things in the process of getting to host the racing shows. We were out at Santa Anita. We were going to show, remember, we were showing all these different races around the country.
I remember.
The Gotham was running out at Aqueduct. We had everything all set up. And we said, let's go to this race. Here's the announcer. And we just hear dead air. And then we hear our producer saying, the audio's dead. Then he said, call the race. So we're looking down, squinting in the sun, no numbers to help us. And we did poorly. They grabbed the half in 47 and 3. We're terrible race callers, by the way. We are awful. But still, Gray Comet has led every step of the way as they come for home. And Gray Comet still has the lead. Going 2 turns in this.
That's Alley Sweep.
Good point. Alley Sweep has the lead every step of the way. I'm an idiot.
All right, and down
Alley Sweep has the lead. 2.5 lengths. Others chase. Alley
Gray
Sweep.
Comet second. And now the question everybody wants to know. I mean, you've sat through all the prep races. We've done them together. You've seen all the horses. Who do you like in the Derby?
Well, we kept on saying at the beginning it was all pieces of a puzzle, and over time you put it all together, and hopefully you can have some answers to the end. But really, at this point, we're just as confused as ever past Empire Maker. I'm going with Brancusi because I want a higher payoff than Empire Maker is going to yield. But Brancusi's one that's just started to progress, and it's done so well with second in the Bluegrass here at Keeneland, and it's one that's going to still have long odds. It gives you the value, so it's worth taking a shot. When you have a big field like that, anything can happen. You might as well back one that's going to pay something.
All right, Kenny will be back with us on Kentucky Derby weekend after his first prep season of hopefully many more to come.
All right.
All right, guys, it's been a fun ride, and remember, you can join us on Citgo Pick 6 Challenge by logging on to ESPN.com, click on horse racing, play for at least $500 every week. Our Citgo Pick 6 on ESPN.com horse racing. Wayne Lukas hugging Bob Lewis after Charismatic went through Lexington to win the Roses. Can they do it again with Scrimshaw? We'll hear from Mr. Derby himself when we come back.
Clear run at the 8th ball. Scrimshaw is up to grab the lead from Trusted Luck. And then Eye of the Tiger and Domestic Dispute. Final 16th of the Coolmore Lexington. Lukas does it again. Scrimshaw takes the Coolmore Lexington by some 3 lengths.
Just like last year when Wayne Lukas was down to one more shot to see if he could go on to the Kentucky Derby, Proud Citizen popped up, won the Lexington, went on to be second in the Derby. Scrimshaw, a shot now that's going to turn around after missing so much time because of a throat complication?
I learned a long time ago that it's not a good idea to write Wayne Lukas off. However, this horse has never gone more than 1 1/16. It's asking a lot, even for Wayne Lukas, to get this horse to go the Derby distance and win it.
If you're playing Scrimshaw in the Kentucky Derby, it requires a leap of faith, and here is your leap of faith. Proud Citizen last year had a 95 Beyer speed figure in that race. He'd never gone past 1 1/16. When on Kentucky Derby Day, of course, he finished second to War Emblem. He improved his speed figure by 14 or 15 points. Scrimshaw has an even better fig, a 99 coming out of that race, but he's going to have a similar kind of improvement as Proud Citizen.
Do we tie it in also with the fact you got the Bob Lewis ownership angle again? You got Lukas, and they teamed up, of course, with Charismatic, that claimer that nobody thought could win the Derby but did in 99. Point is, Lukas is there. Always have to take a look at this guy. He's won 4 Kentucky Derbies. He's now with Jay Pribman. Guys?
Wayne Lukas is a 4-time winner of the Kentucky Derby. His most recent victory in 1999 with Charismatic, whose most recent win coming into the Derby was in the Lexington Stakes. This year he's back with Scrimshaw, also coming off a win in the Lexington. Wayne, let's compare Charismatic to Scrimshaw.
Well, the horses don't compare, but we're trying to do pretty much the same thing. And we were successful also last year with Proud Citizen winning the same race and then running second in the Derby. This year, you know, circumstances dictated pretty much what we had to do with Scrimshaw, and that was also the case with Charismatic. Charismatic, I thought, needed the race. Scrimshaw was probably playing a little bit of catch-up in trying to, you know, get into the Derby, or at least confirm with Bob and Beverly Lewis and myself that he belonged in the Derby. So they're not similar in their styles of the two horses, but the preparation has worked both places.
Well, the reason he had to wait till the Lexington with Scrimshaw is because he needed throat surgery after the Hutchison. How big a difference did it make in this colt coming into the Lexington?
Well, early in the year, we had a little bit of partial paralysis on the throat, and those usually get worse, and it did. It never gets better. It seems it got worse. And after the Hutchinson, we were in great position to win it, and all of a sudden we didn't have any air. And I told Bob and Beverly Lewis we're going to have to do something different. So we did the surgery, and it made all the difference. Now, on those surgeries, Jay, some of them are 50-50, some of them even less as being successful, but on this particular case it worked. He went from having a faulty throat and not getting his air to having almost a perfect throat.
Well, Wayne Lukas, you're alive for 5. Back to you guys in the studio. We'll see if you can get it done next week.
All right, Jay, always keep an eye on Lukas, and you're going to keep an eye on Scrimshaw here.
Well, he beat Trust and Luck. He beat Eye of the Tiger. He also beat Domestic Dispute, who's now back in the picture. So he didn't exactly beat a bunch of crows last week.
And now that Scrimshaw's trachea is perfect, let's hope he doesn't get any dirt in that trachea during the running of the Derby. That would be bad.
Now, would you like to pick, the top finisher all the way to the bottom? Well, you can win $5 million if you do. Play KentuckyDerby.com. The big thing here, it's free. Okay, so take a shot. Pick one through, however many are in the field. Who's going to finish 7th, guys? We don't know. But log on to KentuckyDerby.com and play for $5 million. When we come back, some closing thoughts as we get ready for the Kentucky Derby.
This ESPN2 presentation of Citgo Racing to the Kentucky Derby is brought to you by Citgo. We know you. Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown. Budweiser, the best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. Long John Silver's, dive into something new. Kawasaki all-terrain and utility vehicles. Kawasaki, let the good times roll. The Greatest Game. To learn more about thoroughbred ownership, log on to thegreatestgame.com. Equibase.com, your official online source for racing information from entries to results and everything in between. Equibase.com is a service of Equibase Company, the thoroughbred industry's official database.
Welcome back as we get closer to the Kentucky Derby. And the end of this show, we're going to tell you now about a horse who you will not see running in the Kentucky Derby, but don't blink because you'll see him later here in our Visa 3-year-old Spotlight update. Hank, you know him well.
That's Dinever winning the Aventura Stakes. It was run at Gulfstream. And this horse is set to run in the Lone Star Derby, which will be the week after the Kentucky Derby. But they have their eyes set on the Belmont. And they think this is definitely a horse that can make that 1.5 miles.
And there are some observers out there who believe that aside from Empire Maker, Dinever is the next most talented 3-year-old. And if they meet in the Belmont with perhaps a Triple Crown on the line, Empire Maker could have his hands full.
Well, also in the race now is Domestic Dispute, who you didn't know would he be in for sure. Now he is going to run for the Roses.
He was just purchased as of, I think, Saturday morning is when it was officially announced. His new trainer will be Patty Gallagher. Bob Baffert, his previous trainer, was not going to run him in the Derby after his 3rd place finish in the Lexington, but now you'll see Domestic Dispute.
Okay, well, it's time now for what we've been waiting for about the last hour. That is Randy Moss is going to give us his Kentucky Derby line. And I had a feeling you would make Empire Maker the favorite.
Well, there you see it from top to bottom. And Hank's a man who's been known to part with a buck or two when the odds go up on the line there. What do you think if they go off at that? You see anything in there that catches your eye?
Well, I'm going for a superfecta with Super Blitz. This is a horse, okay, who has run 15 times, hit the board 12 times, been 4th twice. If I put him 4th and wheel him there, put Empire Maker on top, I already told you that I think that the Baffert horse, Indian Express, will run 3rd. I just have to play the all in the 2nd spot, and that's my superfecta, and I'll make a super amount of money.
It's that simple, folks. Let's check in now one more time at Churchill Downs with Jay Pribman for his thoughts.
Thanks, guys. Well, it seems like everybody in the sport is craving a Triple Crown winner since there hasn't been one since Affirmed 25 years ago. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. Just a couple of years ago, it looked like Point Given was a horse who was poised to win the Triple Crown. He couldn't even win the first leg of it. He was defeated in the Kentucky Derby, went on to win the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes. But it just goes to show you just how hard it is to win all 3 races. This year, a lot of people think that Empire Maker has a chance to win the Triple Crown. And there's certainly good reason to believe that. Top trainer in Bobby Frankel. top jockey in Jerry Bailey. An excellent pedigree by Unbridled, the kind of horse who looks like he wants to go on and can handle the Belmont's mile and a half. He's got the kind of tactical speed and the shiftiness to handle the Preakness. But the thing about the Derby, that's the problem that Empire Maker has to do. A large field, a big crowd at Churchill Downs, and this is a horse who has had some problems in the past. He's a little bit of a flighty horse, and if he gets rattled by the crowd here, he might lose his race even before they get in the starting gate. And there's obviously going to be a lot of people trying to cut this horse off to make it difficult for Jerry Bailey, because he's the horse to beat. So all the other jockeys in the race are going to be looking out for Empire Maker. So that's why the Kentucky Derby is such a big hurdle for this horse. But if he can get past this race, then he certainly has a big chance to go on and win the Triple Crown. But the Kentucky Derby is not going to be as big a pushover for Empire Maker as I think a lot of people believe it will be. Back to you.
Good points, Jay, and anyone who thinks they had this figured out, just remember it was a $1,300 exacta last year, trained by Bob Baffert and Wayne Lukas, two of the greats, especially at the Derby, yet they were overlooked. What do you think about this year, Hank?
Well, all I can tell you is this. Take a look at the history. Go on the internet and see what the no-nos are about the Derby, because history usually holds up. And watch the races again coming up to the Derby. I think Empire Maker ran the best this spring and looks like he's the best prepared for this race.
Randy, you got the exacta.
Yeah, it's a Murphy's Law exacta. In honor of War Emblem and Proud Citizen last year, there were two horses in the last hour whose names never left our lips. Awfully Wild, the winner of the Holy Bull, and Out of Here, fourth in the UAE Derby. So there you go.
We've got it covered, and we are out of here. We'll see you later this week on the ESPN networks. Remember, it's Sports Center at the Kentucky Derby Draw Wednesday at 5, a special 1-hour wire-to-wire Thursday at 4. For Randy Moss, Hank Goldberg, Jay Privman, I'm Kenny Rice. Coming up next, baseball tonight. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Vistride